Chapter 1. Joe, you've said more than once that you're done talking about Ong's hat, so I have to ask, what are you hoping to get across with this that hasn't been said before?
Well, here's the funny thing. It's all been said before many times. The problem is that anytime I've been interviewed and people have asked me for the full story and I've given it to them, most of it's hit the cutting room floor except for some very salacious parts they wanted to chop out and use for their own means, which is mostly to generate clicks and hits and listens to their podcast or their radio show. So I've spoken again and again and again to all kinds of people in the media about the story, and they don't want to hear the story. Although when I've asked people who are, I hate to use the word fans, but who are admirers of my work or followers of my work, do you want to hear the full story? They all say yes. So the journalists don't want to hear it because it doesn't suit their preconceived notions or what the story they want to tell. But it's the story, and it's not their story to tell. It's mine. Right. So I decided in order to do that comprehensively, I'm going to have to take it into my own hands. So here we are.
Where did Ong's hat really start? Not like when pen first went to paper on the piece of art referred to as Ong's hat, but where did it really start?
Well, I thought about that, and I don't want to go all the way back into my childhood. And,
right.
Like it all started in my conception, but basically,
Sure.
I don't want to tell that story, but you have to kind of like put a pin in it somewhere on the timeline. So for me, if I have to do that, the timeline really has to do with what I would consider my first encounter with Chapel Perilous. And that's about 1984.
Chapel Perilous.
Uh-huh.
What is Chapel Perilous?
Yeah. Well, it's a term that my late friend Robert Anton Wilson made popular that has to do with, I'm just going to break it down to real basic components. It's a breakdown that leads to a breakthrough. This is a point in your life, and I was lucky that I was young when it happened, so it was kind of an initiation or a rite of passage for me. But it's a point in your life where you get moved to a new timeline or a new path in your life. You come to a realization that there's maybe some things that you're doing that are not leading to a good place, and it's a full reckoning that you have with yourself, with your subconscious or with your higher self or whatever, however you want to term that. But basically, it takes you to a place where you no longer have the ability to dodge or make excuses for anything that you're doing or have done in your past, and you have the reckoning.
Sure.
Some people have called that the come to Jesus moment. I don't use that term because I understand why it's used, but I don't use that term because of the religious connotations. But some people will know it as the come to Jesus moment. It's basically where you hit rock bottom, admitting that what you're doing is not working and that you're going to have to do something different. And that's a very painful thing to do.
Yeah. I remember Robert Anton Wilson said that you reach Chapel Perilous and you're faced with two choices. You either become totally agnostic or stone paranoid. And there's is no third option. Yeah.
And there's different ways to put that, but yeah, but he's right.
And it's interesting to hear you put that way, especially with the come to Jesus moment, because Chapel Perilous, the original connotation was about the Grail quest.
Yes. Well, from the Wolfram von Eschenbach tale, which is the pre-Christianized version of the Grail lore. And basically, the whole thing is an analogy for a young man's journey into adulthood. And the first thing that